Okay, well, first of all, thank you everyone who has shown up. And there, I think is going to be a few more that join us, but it'll be recorded. So don't take notes, folks, just relax. And let me introduce myself to the couple of people who don't know me. Plus, it's a different introduction for like Raymond and people who know me from the other room. I'm Penny Katz. I am retired. I love doing things with Zoom, and I got to know Marcia through a musical Zoom that we both sing on. And she invited me to her podcast. I did a previous one, and that was on a crossing over group, and that's available. She has it on tape, and I believe she said it was on Facebook. So I'm basically going to talk about empathic behavior. And after a while, I will ask if there are any questions. So if you could hold your questions till the end, because I'm going to lead this off by saying, I think I'm fairly attuned to norms and people's, processes out there. I honestly did not know that I was an empath until I would say I was in my 60s. I was at a piano bar once and befriended a couple that was there, and they kept telling me that they were empaths. And I thought, oh, how nice. Oh, how nice. What song are you going to do? And got to know them for about 2 months. They were kind of, they had problem with boundaries. They cared. And more we talked about some things, I realized that a lot of my behavior was and reactions were along the lines of someone who is highly empathic. Now, empathy is a noun. Okay, it's not a verb. And there apparently is in research some two sides about that. Reading up for some things on this and a couple books I've read in the past, there is no definite in any of the terms that I'm going to give you. So I'm going to give you the ones that I'm comfortable with and the situations that have happened to me. Basically, I'm a rather social person, except I don't like to go and won't go to concerts. I just won't. I mean, I had gotten tickets from my father in the 60s for the Beatles, and he was so excited to give them to me. And I wouldn't go. I refused and never really went to a concert. Never really wanted to go on a cruise ship, big venues, but I didn't think anything really was wrong with it, and it's not. It's not. But I became aware that it was more than just, I don't feel like doing it. I would have signs of feeling slightly anxious, very imposed upon by a lot of what was going on around me. So there could be people sitting at a table a few tables from me, or even my work as a nurse, but I'll get to that in a minute. And I would just pick up on their socialization behavior. If they were having a fight at their table, I was, feeling stressed. If they were laughing and having a good time, I ended up having a good time. That was the beginning of like, it's really weird. Didn't want to talk to them, didn't want to be their friends particularly, but now the empathy that they talk about generally is divided into, I'm putting my glasses on because otherwise I have to squint. Cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. To be honest, it all overlaps. It really, really does. So we can even use another time perhaps to go into more detail what things are, but living a vibrant life requires empathy. And empathy allows us to build community, have more meaningful conversations, and feel less alone. So it's like I'm I live alone. I like living alone, but I don't feel alone. And this is probably one of the reasons why. We see ourselves in those around us and understand that their experience is better, and we feel understood by others and safe to share. And they're saying that they gave the example in one of the things I read that somebody lost a mate and they were sitting at a bus stop and somebody came along and sat down near them and just without having any background information, empathized with them, said, I know how it feels. It sounded like 20, 25 minutes before they came up with the actual subject that both of them had lost mates recently. So a lot of the people I know out there, I know have similar feelings. If you walk into a situation, kind of see who is where, who is what. But the empath takes it a step further and wants to make it better, wants to solve it, wants to see if that person's okay. So as far as the readings that I was doing, they all pretty much say the same thing, but it's interesting how a lot of different authors have labeled things differently. So just generally, what is an empath? An empath is a person with a highly developed capacity to understand others and their perspectives. They easily put themselves into other people's shoes, I'm guilty, to experience what they're feeling, allowing them to connect with others on a deeper level. Now, I did psych nursing for 20 years, and I did this without thinking about it. I mean, there were people that, you have nurses on all different levels and functioning, and I had people come and go, why are you spending so much time with that patient? She's got nothing to offer. He's got nothing to offer. They don't have family coming in. There are no grandkids. And I just felt a connection to people, and usually would find out so much more information than a mere intake or, what they were offering in group therapy, just by kind of being there with the person. Now, I see several people on who I know are nurses, and I think you can identify with that a little. By the way, I didn't say this in the beginning. I'm going to go on with the presentation, and then I'm going to turn it over to questions. So, not to be interrupted, because I'll lose my place. Anyway, early hypothesis about empathy theorized that it was an innate behavioral trait. I don't buy that. But researchers throughout the 21st century across various fields, neuroscientists, anthropologists, have proven that empathy is a learned behavior. Our brains process the intricate interplay between motor, sensory, and emotional. And these areas help us understand the why others experience things and acts, and we do it with compassion. Most places listed three types of empathy: an affective, which I'll get to in a minute, a cognitive, and compassionate. Honestly, if you're empathic, you don't go, oh, wait a minute, what am I? Is that active or is that? You just know it, you feel it, you do it. I know with a lot of things going on in the world nowadays, I can be triggered off by hearing two people talk about it. I'm not talking about just an agree or disagree, but it's an inside agitation or attempt to want to be involved. So let's see here. The affective empathy. Okay, the glasses. Affective empathy, or it's also called emotional contagion, describes mirroring someone's feelings. When we see a person experiencing joy or pain, our brains activate the same motor and sensory areas of the brain as the person we're watching. I thought that was interesting. This causes us to unconsciously mime their body language and facial expressions. And I've seen people do that. I wasn't aware that I probably do too, but when I started writing, I thought that was good news. Then they call it mimicry, has possible and negative outcomes. It facilitates social bonding and provides important life lessons. When you've made somebody feel bad, you experience the consequences of your decisions. But effective empathy can also cause you to mimic negative feelings such as distress, panic, or overwhelming anxiety, which can make you avoid things or feel disconnected from the person that you're imitating. Now, when I was reading that much, I just felt like things were all over the board. So if you're feeling the same way, give me a minute. Because I'm going, wait a minute. If you do good, you know, you're having an experience. If you're doing bad, you're having an experience. So cognitive, which we all know means thinking, empathy. This type is also called emotional recognition. There's not going to be a test, trust me. And it's understood as sympathy. Cognitive empathy allows you to perceive and identify another person's emotional state. Imagine your loved one lost a parent. You may not be able to understand the physical sensation of losing a parent, but you can identify their emotions as grief, disbelief, and loneliness. You can tap into experiences where you felt these emotions and produce cognitive empathy. Again, these are all things I think, you know, a lot of you out there are probably thinking, yeah, that's what I do. What's the big deal? Did you ever know it had a name? Cognitive empathy causes positive and negative outcomes. When we tap into our experiences, we can comfort others more efficiently. It also plays an important social role, kicking in our desire to help when we witness an injustice. Now, I know if I see something that I don't think is right, I get what I've always referred to as my knee-jerk reaction. Being able to relate to others and our experiences motivate us to fight or flight. People manipulate our cognitive empathy and take advantage, and it affects our attempt to connect. And there was just one other, for compassionate empathy, and I'm not going to go through a just long explanation of it. It motivates compassion, and I think everyone has that. However, here's an example that the author has written about it. Say you notice a homeless person sleeping outside of your office building, and you experience immense empathy. You feel cold when seeing them shiver, and you can relate to their lack of safety because of a childhood experience. But it's compassion that compels you to give them money, buy them warm clothes, and help them find a homeless shelter. So there is that extra little step, and it does have the label of being compassionate. If you just feel for it, it's not the same. I know that I had wandered into, I was driving in New York once and got turned around by Central Park. And I mean, if you don't know where you're going in Central Park and it's a day where there's people and cars, you can keep going around it. It's almost like people who are from the Philly area, one of the Jersey circles where you don't know where to get off, you just keep going around. And a lot was going on at the park. And I actually remember going through, you know, several emotions and several situations. And just looking back on this, I mean, at the time, there was no great insight. Right now, it's just, I like to find out sometimes why people and myself do what we do. So right now, I'm going to ask if anybody has any experiences that they feel are empathetic and would like to share. Marcia, I can't see. Is somebody putting a hand up?
I don't see any hands. Anybody want to?
I have something to say. Jean, my
Okay.
name is Jean.
Yeah, Jean, go ahead.
Oh, my Aunt Florence was empathic. You described her to a T. When she would see a homeless person or a, very old person, she would cry and want to take them home. If there were a stray dog, she would cry about it. Oh, I have to feed them. Maybe I should bring them home too. I think that's what you're talking about.
It is. It certainly is. Did she label herself? Did she use the term empathic or?
No, she wouldn't know that word. No, but she she would tell me about it,
Most people don't, I'm finding out. I mean, when I worked with, behavioral health patients, they could tell me if they were screwy one way or the other. But then nobody ever said to me, I'm empathic.
Well, she used to love to go to group therapy. That was her favorite thing to do. They had a whole club there.
Mm-hmm.
And they would go to therapy, and then they would meet on the weekend and go out for dinner. So they were very much in tune with her.
Well, it does breed closer socialization of groups. If you have several empaths in it, they, pick up and support each other and bring other people into the circle, call it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's
made her very happy.
Yeah.
And she loved old men. I mean, elderly, really old, and she was the baby in the family. And her father, since she was like the 9th child, so her father was a lot older than her. And I think she loved him so much. And so she really, she paid a lot of attention and gave a lot of attention to old men and felt sorry for them and wanted to help them.
Well, I agree with you. It sounds like she certainly, had qualities of it. You're going to read this one section on active listening, which one of the authors of many, which is why I'm not giving names out, listed. Thanks, Jean, for contributing. I see
You're welcome.
Steve is on the screen. His mic is off, but I'll wave. We actually listen when we intentionally work to comprehend and retain information. Common active listening techniques include removing distractions, using direct eye contact, and mimicking body language. And I find that I do that naturally. Like I will mimic somebody's body language if I'm sitting there with them long enough. The direct eye contact is something that I think you end up doing if you're into the whatever their situation is, whatever is going on, making them need to be hugged. Better conversation and engagements improve your ability to relate to the other person. If you're a leader, listening is particularly important. And they have another example here. This person keeps putting about their coworkers, but they never list what kind of job they had. Imagine a coworker you're managing, and they ask for advice about workplace conflicts. And you can tell they're nervous and uncomfortable. Show empathy by putting away your cell phone. How many of us would actually do that? I might put it in my purse. I may put it somewhere. And to continue, maintaining eye contact and nodding to gestures to understand are also helpful. Your demonstrative willingness to listen will make them feel more comfortable sharing. And once somebody starts sharing back with you, it's there's nothing better than a good give and take. If you don't know somebody, you'll know them soon. You may know more than you want to know, but you will know, and they'll get to know you. I mean, I know a lot of times I'll go out to taverns to perform, and at first I'm there and it's like, a bunch of strange people. Why am I doing this? And then you're friends within a month. Everybody kind of has shared with each other why they're all out there doing it. There's also paying attention to nonverbal cues, that sometimes what's not said is most important. And we often rely more on nonverbal cues than verbal ones. For example, and they're not giving one this time. But you can tell, if somebody's staring you in the eye versus going into their luggage or their handbag or their desk, that they may not care about what you're saying per se, but they care about the fact that you're saying it. And if you don't even realize that at the time you're talking to them, you realize that down the line. And that has, led to a lot of going on to the next level. Let's see. I did underline an awful lot, and I'm not going to burden you with it. Oh, I like this one. Staying silent. Part of being a good conversationalist is knowing when to be quiet. Although sharing your own experiences can be helpful, always let the other finish their thoughts and only share when prompted to respond. I'm getting a low battery signal here. It's not good. Only offer when explicitly requested. Receiving advice can make some people, some people pleasers, feel confused and burdened because they want to follow your advice to make you happy, but it might just go against what they're really feeling that they want to do. So I guess what they're saying is even being silent, you can give mixed messages. Anyone else have experiences that want to just run by us now? If my phone runs out of energy.
Raymond wants to say something.
Raymond, talk to me, Bubala.
Okay. Well, I can't see, so I can't go by visual attributes that you say you may want to communicate with that person, but I can hear.
Yeah.
The thing is that for me, the way I can tell if a person likes you or not, talking, just by them talking, by the way their voice sounds to meet my ear, because that's the only way I can tell if they want to talk to you or anything like that. If their voice sounds nice to my ear, then maybe I will respond in kind. Understand what I mean? Because that's the only way I can know if that person, you would feel something for that person because of the sound of how they speak and what they say. That's my opinion. That's it.
Beautifully put, but you always put things beautiful. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a crush on Raymond and his logic.
Yeah.
He's one of our singers, and think about it. I mean, sometimes singing and the words that you choose to use. I mean, even when you're in an intimate group and words seem to click between people. Do you ever sing in an audience? There's a bunch of singers I see out there, and somebody is really hanging on to every word with the lyrics. And sometimes maybe going over and giving that person a hug or asking, could they relate to the song? Now I know people have asked me with some of the songs, especially the ones that are my favorites. I think that all gives a message from us. I think taking it to Broadway shows and things that I can relate to. I enjoy shows when their songs have a meaning, something I can take away from it. Something that's kind of clear cut. More so than personally anyway, sitting in a classroom. Nursing school is not as exciting, but did learn some interesting things.
I have an example of a nonverbal cue. An example of a nonverbal cue.
Communication?
My mother.
Yes.
Let's say she was upset. Not that she said anything that she was upset. It's just that she would take a dish towel. We're sitting at the table talking. She would take a dish towel and she would fold it and smooth it and refold it while she's telling me about some person who upset her terribly. So she's taken her hands and she's ironing with her hands that dish towel over and over, which I took to mean that she's trying to straighten out this conflict between her and the other person.
Interesting. Quite possible. Quite possible. A lot of times, you do something and you don't realize that what you're doing is coping with something that happened that you didn't want to or didn't cope with. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any examples?
Penny, this is Wilma. I have a question. You mentioned in the research you did that some of the I'm trying to, I think I wrote it down. Oh, some of the research showed that empathies actually learn behavior. And
Mhm.
I wondered, was some kind of life experience, I don't know, maybe drama or trauma or something more facilitating toward that? That, you know, if you had a negative or dramatic or traumatic, you know, experience in life, would that make you more empathetic toward others? Did they go into the detail about that?
They didn't go into specific detail like they did with some other things, but that definitely, it was something, the impression I got that was early in life. They may not realize till later on, but it was something that, you know, jolted your system out of the norm and you had a response,
Mhm.
you know, negative or positive. But I wish they put examples in places that they didn't. um,
That's interesting. Yeah, I can see the connection.
well, you certainly have had your share.
Yeah. I
Well,
think most people who have lived have their share. Yeah, everyone.
Wilma's calling in from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Where we we were in school together and worked the VA. Trying to, yes.
I think it would be a better world if there were more empathetic people. Is that a good way to say it? And Jean, you sound like you have a lot of wonderful relatives. Good to hear.
Oh, they were so much fun.
She has me.
Ah, no, I mean, really, I think most people, I was surprised by the generality of my findings, to be honest. And was trying to connect them to things that had happened to me. Some, you know, were specific and some weren't. I mean, but I wanted to go ahead with this, bring up what I did find, and see if people can relate their own experiences. Or, you know, you don't have to be an empathic person to have an empathic reaction. So, you know, if that's the only one you've had in your life, reaction you've had in your life, I don't think there's any right or wrong with this. I do think that some people do use practicing being empath or claiming that they are as a little bit of a scapegoat. I mean, the person that telling you about from one of the clubs, oh my God, they tried to get in and get a job there among the wait staff. I didn't know there was something between the owner of the club and them. I didn't even know they knew each other. But they overheard me saying that I knew the owner to somebody and befriended me, and kind of picked up that there were some rough things going on at that time. And, you know, it turned out I got to see where they were heading and kind of headed it off. But other people who knew this couple are the ones who turned me into that, you know, they're practicing and use being empathic, I can't even say that, empathic, to, you know, get into things that they can't get into with natural skills that they have. And that's kind of sad. But Marcia, I definitely think the whole world would be a better place if people just listened better. It's okay to have your own opinions. It's fine, you know, and some people are never going to, you know, agree or not agree with you, and that's fine. I find myself now turning off movies that I would always watch movies to the end. I would always, if they were awful, I would watch them from beginning to end. Now I'll turn them off if they make me feel unsettled. And that's my little cue that something's going on empathic. If I'm feeling extremely settled or somewhat unsettled, and I'm in, no reason that the environment that I'm in would explain it. You know, with a friend at the movie, there's no reason that I should feel uncomfortable. So if that helps with any reasoning. Any other feedback?
Penny, this is Wilma. I have another question. When you did your research, did you read anything at all about intuition? I'm wondering if that's in any way related. You know, like how you might know something about someone without them telling you. Is there a connection?
Thanks for picking that up. Yes, bringing that up. Apparently, when two empathic souls get together, you know, one feels that the other person is having something good, bad, or indifferent. They bring up that they're in the same space. That's when it's contributed to intuition from one to the other. You know, sometimes they said you even know the issue, like the woman who had lost her partner and the other woman approached her and, you know, was being reassuring. She knew apparently when she approached her that that's what was going on. And I've had that situation with people. I really have. Especially working in the hospital. You know, you kind of know when it's not fitting between the lines, you know, just because somebody says, well, this is what's going on in any situation isn't necessarily the case. And a lot of times you can say, oh, gee, that's the way I act that way when I'm really frustrated. And then somebody will say, yeah, well, I'm frustrated too. That's how some of the conversations go on. But some of them have exact, you know, intuition about the other person's situation that's bringing them down or up or whatever. Didn't mention anything about if they're on any kinds of drugs or prescribed medications or alcohol, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, Marcia, are you there, darling? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking we're all making new friends virtually, and,
Mm.
and personalities do come through with the virtual way we're meeting now. Even though we don't know people, we only know them from the Zoom, and we could tell personalities through that too.
Well, also it's safer.
That's true.
It's safer to, you know, or if you think something about, you know, someone's behavior or something they've said or whatever, you can wait till the next time that you're in the Zoom and, you know, but no, I do think that it certainly plays a role of it. I mean, since 2020, I've gotten involved with Zooms all over the country and gotten to know a lot of people. When I had a health situation a couple of years ago, aside from my dear, dear close friends, I had a lot of support from people I never met. And follow up and caring and things that you wouldn't think that you do to a picture on a cell phone that you talk to, you know, for an hour. What I was wondering if anybody, when I first started this, and the reason I asked if people would bring, if they had any recall from like 30, 40 years ago, something that you would consider a moment of empathic behavior.
Francie has her hand up. I don't know if you see the electronic hand.
No, that's why I asked you. No,
Francie,
Yes, thank you, Penny. Thank you, Marsha. The point is well taken that people can hide behind Zoom and act in manners that perchance they would never do if it were face to face. One might argue that they gather a false quote unquote courage, but behind the courage is nothing but a bully. And what it really comes down to, Penny, if anyone is going to lead a Zoom session, not only ideally do they have empathy, but they must also be leaders and have a spine. They must be willing to call a spade in this respect. There are rules of the road to Zoom. There are etiquette rules in Zoom. Zoom is not a free-for-all. You can't use chat to privately encroach upon somebody else's well-being, their persona, their integrity. You can't use chat to mug somebody.
No.
And if there is a Zoom leader, so-called, the host or the hostess of the Zoom call, they have to have the skill set, the ability to both step up and step back and reinforce and speak truth to the bully and call the bully out, even if it means that their head count for their next Zoom sessions is going to be diminished, arguably diminished only numerically, but not substantively. So the bottom line, the same lack of courage of a Zoom host or hostess in not reining in really untoward behavior of any individual on a call that is disruptive and disrespectful really does not redound well to the total experience of everyone. Empathy is a living womb. It creates not a hard shell, but a soft environment that allows people and encourages people to be all that they wish to be at that moment in a safe and considered way. But again, as in life, as in Zoom, you got to call out the bullies. And if you don't, then you are an enabler. Thank you, Penny.
Well, thank you, Francie.
Excellent.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I do think you need to just, my feeling is in order to run a Zoom or whatever, if it's about, specialty or cooking or performing or whatever, it does take an extra amount of guts and persistence to do it right. I know from, joining a lot of groups and then saying, there's nothing here. I can turn on my music. I can sing elsewhere. But you're right. I mean, there is an obligation, but that's not really an empathic one. That's a common sense one. You don't want arguing. There was a group that's no longer at the top right now out of Long Island. And one night we had hackers break in. And kids will do this every now and then. I'm saying kids because they sounded like kids. And they drive around and they break into it. And at first wasn't sure what it was because you always have new people coming. And then they started asking for songs using words and descriptions and stuff that I never would use. Now, I would have turned the whole thing off, but fortunately the person who was running it, the two people, knew what to do and got them off the line.
Yeah. I only had to do it once. Most of the time, everybody is very nice and I don't have any problems. But there was one time when someone came on and didn't want to identify themselves.
Mhm.
I gave them a chance. A few times I said, if you want to stay here, you have to let us know who you are. We're all friendly people, and just say who you are and fine. But they didn't, so I just had to get. You can Zoom allows you if somebody is disruptive in any way, you can just get them off. So, but it's much better to be nice to people. Try to be nice. When you're nice to people, they're usually nice to you. If they're not nice, then somehow you'll get them to go away. But not you shouldn't be with a lot of people and trying to fight about it, because a true argument was never won. Everyone always thinks that they're right,
Yes.
but they don't have to argue about it. You say what you have to say, and if people agree with you, fine. If they don't, it's okay too, because you're not going to win. There's no winning in something like that. Just let it go and try to be nice to each other. That's my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree. And for those of you who know that I'm an incredible animal lover, especially my late dog, I think they're the prime example of empaths. Beamer knew what I was thinking. He knew. If I was happy, if I was sad, if I, and I knew things were going on with him. It's just a different level putting all the research together. And there were like this book that I read and other stuff. I mean, the one other term that I thought was interesting was cultivating self-compassion, which is learning how to be more empathetic will make those in your world feel cared for and listened to. But it will also help you develop compassion for yourself. Everyone's experiences are valuable and worth tending to, including yours. So, because a lot of times we put our own feelings on the side, and then a lot of times you think you've communicated them, but you haven't, and then things just blow up and you have no idea where the hell it came from. But I think it's just a bunch of explanations for a certain feeling. I don't know that I believe that you're born with it. There's no way to prove that at this point. But if there becomes a pill that people can take to be a little more empathetic, people should try it.
I've had my hand raised, Penny. I don't know if you see it.
I can't
The great, it's no problem, Penny. Marcia didn't mention it. It's a great thing. The greatest empathy is to speak up for oneself as well as others. And while it's true, arguing with a fool makes you a fool, there is also a line in the sand. And everybody knows BS, and everybody knows when it should be called out and when it should be ignored. But the great reason that Zoom and the stock of Zoom has zoomed is precisely because they took note of a word you used about 180 seconds ago, which is responsibility. Zoom entered the pandemic as a model of corporate platforming. It quickly was transformed into many other iterations. And it really wasn't either legally, socially, physically, technically, etc., prepared for its huge user base, but it got with the program and it really did institute rules of the road. And that has made all the difference to a certain extent. Yes, Zoom bombing, as you recently referenced, it's something that still exists. But Penny, as you said, the person who was the hostess knew what to do. She activated a game plan. She took responsibility. She protected the well-being of everybody in the Zoom room, and it redounded to everyone's benefit. But again, making nice is a very different thing than being nice. Making nice is stupid. Being nice is a function of, in my opinion, of empathy, intelligence, intuition, a word which Wilma used earlier. It is a conglomerate and an aggregate of all of those attributes. But again, if you allow something as fundamentally wrong to allow one person to speak over another, you have no right hosting anything. You need to go back to the drawing board and look in the mirror. The head count is not what matters in a Zoom room or in an audience. What matters, Penny, is what you said earlier. It's the quality of the exchange, the give and take that stimulates both the listener and the speaker, as well as everybody else within the room, to reflect and to make adjustments, perhaps, in their own behavior if they think it's worthwhile. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, Francie. And yeah, please let me know if you want to talk, because I'm not getting the hands up on the screen here. But just to get back to, you know, the right and the wrong line. My father used to always say there's a schmuck line. Don't let them cross the schmuck line. You know, you put up with it, you do what you can, you know. Or he also used to say you catch more flies with, what was it? With honey than you do, thank you.
Vinegar.
Exactly. Exactly.
Angela wants to say something.
Sure. Thanks, Francine. Yeah, Angela.
Angela Sorge?
I had to unmute myself because I was riding in the car. What I wanted to say about, you know, you were talking about empathy, and, you know, empathy, nobody's born with it. You know, it comes as you develop and as you socialize. So this is, you know, how where empathy really comes from. And if there's, they were talking about a bully on Zoom, and all you got to do is the host has to just mute them. That's all.
Great.
I mean,
Well,
there's nothing, just mute them and that's it. You know, they can't talk. Anyway, it's great. I came in late, so I didn't pick up the beginning, but I was just listening. So I'm going back to listening.
Okay.
well, I'm glad you came. I think we're kind of near the end.
No,
Sure.
Penny, I enjoy all the things you do anyway, so.
Aw. Everyone who saw the last one that I did and had the kind things to say, I thank you
Yeah,
all.
I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, no, it's good.
Angela, good to see you again.
I have one more thing to say if I have time. I don't know,
Yeah.
is there time?
You have time.
You spoke at the beginning of your program, you spoke about someone who refused to go to a concert, refused to get on the cruise ship.
It was me.
Reminded me of my Aunt Florence.
Yes.
Aw.
Now she was afraid to travel. She would not go anywhere where she had to travel. She wouldn't take a bus. She wouldn't take a train.
She didn't want to go in the tunnel.
And she didn't want to go in a tunnel. She was afraid to go over the bridge in a car, you know, like the Brooklyn Bridge.
What about the Tappan Zee? I don't like going over the Tappan Zee Bridge.
So she had what the psychiatrists call is agoraphobia.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Agoraphobia is the fear of the marketplace.
Well,
So she would not travel. She didn't want to go anywhere.
It's a
But she would go locally. She would walk to Avenue U. She would have dinner there in the restaurant every night. She had friends, neighborhood friends, but she was so afraid to travel. And you know who she looked like? Do you remember Abbott and Costello films?
Yeah.
Do you remember Hillary Brooke, the big gorgeous blonde?
Yeah.
That was the spitting image of her.
So you and her look like twins.
I wish. No, she was very beautiful. But anyway, she had this problem. But after her husband died, she sort of like got rid of that problem. It sort of went away.
Was she always like that? Because I mean, I've flown over to Europe and I've traveled by air a lot. So when I say around certain times haven't wanted to do it, it's not exactly agoraphobic, but it's just kind of like getting signals that the area is kind of buzzing with activity that I'm not ready to incorporate.
Well, anyway, she was, I don't know when it started for her, but I think she was already maybe late teens, 20s into, an elderly person.
Well, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that, Jean.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
I did. I like whatever you do.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah, great. Well, this was a fun class.
I just wish they would show themselves sometime.
I know. So do I. But I thought maybe for my birthday in June now, maybe for Christmas.
Maybe for Christmas, what?
You'll show yourselves. You'll put your pictures. I have this. Maybe this does have a little to do with empathy here. I have a mental picture of both what you and Raymond look like. So it'll be very interesting if I ever am fortunate enough to get to see a picture, how close I am or I'm not.
I'll tell you
You're
what.
both very talented.
Picture an elderly.
Oh no, you can't.
Picture an elderly Danny and what was her name in Greece? What was her name? Sandy and Danny. When they were teenagers. That's us, only older.
I saw a picture of you. You're a gorgeous blonde.
Thank you.
Well,
I love you.
Jean, I go by the songs that both of you do.
Say that again.
The songs that each of you choose individually are a big part of what my mind, what you look like. I don't know, I'm going to walk down the street and go, Jean! But
yes.
I hope the songs come out nice.
Someday.
All right, I'm going to hope that someday.
Someday when the winter is over.
It hasn't started yet.
Did I monopolize the session?
No, not at all. Not at all. You helped enrich it, and everybody did. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I enjoy this. This was fun. Psychology,
When can you come back again? We really did enjoy.
You did that to me the last time, asked me on the air when I come back again. Probably sometime in October.
Okay.
Remember that woman who tonight wanted to know more about intuition? Tonight, she said.
Oh, tonight.
Yeah. And that was your previous class.
Oh, right.
It was a lot about psychic people.
Well, it was about crossing over. Yeah.
Intuition is very much like that.
Definitely. The world is a good place, and minds that are open can have probably 10 labels for the same process. So just, keep your mind open, enjoy, be safe. And I look forward to coming up with another topic and seeing you soon and seeing some of you sooner.
Right.
And also, I want to add, you learn a lot from listening.
Yes.
Aw,
I'm a great listener. Excellent.
I've enjoyed being here tonight. I really have.
We enjoyed having you.
I enjoyed everything you said.
Yeah.
And the people who contributed too.
Yes.
Who was that woman that loved to talk about bullies?
Well, we're all still on the air together. So
So now what are you gonna do when the class is over?
I'm not going to do Marie's room tonight. My throat has been since last Monday iffy, and I have a full week coming up of performances. So
You can
So
listen.
I have the link if you need it, Jean and Raymond. Do you need the link or you know it?
Well, who's giving it?
Marie at 8 o'clock.
I see DJ Steve.
DJ Steve is here, but he's not running the meeting tonight. It's Sunday, Jean. Today is Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow is
I
Monday.
lost track of time.
it's okay. We're with you. We're all empathetic to that.
It would have been nice to hear from Amy and Dora and Wilma and Vivian and Mark. That's Elaine Kirsch and Angela spoke. DJ Steve was kind of silent, and Francie had a lot to say.
How
Well,
about Elaine? Does Elaine have something to say? She is very, she has a lot of empathy for the world. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah. She looks like she's involved with a man.
oh my goodness.
And you know, Penny,
Sunday.
Penny,
Yes,
Penny, it's great. Fundamental Zoom rule, which you acknowledged about 5 minutes ago, step up and step back. What really
that?
brought out, all you have to offer, Penny, is engagement. It's terrific if people want to be silent and listen and attentive and learn. That's fantastic. But I don't qualify or quantify. In other words, I don't judge and say he had too little to say or she had too much to say. What is terrific, Penny, is that this is ironically the season of the US Open. Life is a tennis match. You put the ball in motion over the net. You sail it to one, they sail it back to you. Maybe they give you a drop shot. Maybe they give you an overhand. Maybe they put some spin on it. Maybe they put some slice. Maybe they put it out of bounds. But it's the engagement, Penny. If you had to speak for 60 minutes with no one stepping up to engage you, the quality, in my opinion, of all you offered tonight might have been very different if you had to carry the game, the match, all on your own. You'd still be the winner. It's been great to play with you the empathy game. Thank you.
let's do pickleball time. Thank you so
I
much.
just wanted to ask my friend Elaine if she wants to say a couple of words. Do you want to say? You could talk because you're unmuted.
Is she here? I don't see an Elaine.
It says Mark Kirsch.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't need that.
She's going to talk now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we could hear you.
Hi, yeah.
Talk into there.
Do you want to say anything, Mark? You can
Okay,
talk.
go ahead.
You're okay. And I just wanted to say through all this that it has been hard for me to grow up and learn any empathy because my parents, like a lot of other people here, had parents who came from Europe, who came from Rome, who had to flee the country. and they could never understand when I was little. I was born in this country where I had so many phobias and I was afraid of so many things that seemed like nothing to them and seemed ridiculous after what they went through. So it was hard for me growing up that way, although I can understand now what they went through and
Yeah,
everything else. But I'm sure others have had that problem too. It's hard to be empathetic to others when your parents were not able to be empathetic towards you. I thought you had it so good here.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I had relatives who were through the Holocaust, and remember, I had two aunts who kept saying, "Mommy, why did Aunt Clara write on her arm?" And she realized I was talking about her numbers, her tattoo.
My parents went through the pogroms. They came to America before the Holocaust. So,
But her mother made her a doll. Elaine is a
I
wonderful
remember that.
writer,
Yeah.
and she wrote the story about her mom. The mom
And that's
had
when my mother was in a nursing home. That
she
was
got dementia, but she loved Elaine so much. She made her this doll. I thought it was such a beautiful, touching story.
Do you still have that doll?
It wasn't a real doll. It was a picture of a doll she cut out of a magazine. Somebody cut and pasted it on a piece of paper. To her, it was a doll. I still have it. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. I remember your story, Elaine.
You do?
That's
Yeah.
special.
Thank you. Yeah. And
Well, thanks for talking.
no, Marsha, I gotta come with you. You look like a real glamour girl tonight. You look so.
Isn't she
Yeah,
gorgeous?
well,
Wow,
I'm an old
sexy.
lady, but I still, once in a while, I dress up.
Marsha always looks good when I see her.
Do you know how old I am? 87.
Yay!
Oh, you're
Elaine
my
and I are the same age.
Yeah, do you believe that, Mark?
Yeah.
I know.
Beautiful.
We're both born in 1937.
Ah, 37.
And Marsha has the most gorgeous singing voice. Can you still sing, Marsha?
Yeah, I try to sing, but it doesn't always come out, but I try it.
No.
Marsha can sing soprano. Marsha can sing alto. She's terrific.
Yeah, I wish I could sing better, but anyway, at least the karaoke buddies put up with me.
Oh, no. Come on, Marsha.
Amy, how's your mother doing?
I'm sorry to say not too well, Elaine, but we do the best we can. Thank you for
I'm
that.
sorry to hear that. Is she still at home?
Yes, she is, Elaine.
Oh, she was such a wonderful woman. I remember her from the poetry groups we used to go to.
Amy is a wonderful girl. She
What?
takes good care of her mom. She's really a wonderful caregiver.
Yes, you are. I can see that.
Thank you.
I
Very
see you in the
noble.
poetry groups. You certainly are.
Wonderful.
Marsha, I'm going to bring it to an end because my power is just about on zero.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I thank everyone. I thank my friends.
Thank you very much, Penny.
Thank you. See you again soon.
I hope so, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Penny.
Yeah.
Ideas or requests, give them to Marsha.
See you next time whenever you show up.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I'll hear you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.